Here's what I'm going to be doing today. I refer to it as a lost segment turning because every third segment I'm leaving it out. Being as how I'm leaving out every third one, I have to have a number of segments that's equally divisible by 3, so I'm using 24 segment per ring. It's a normal open segment turning, except for a few things. Of course, the real short height segments, these are 0.2 inch. These segments are 3/4 of an inch. And what's really different is this one long segment across here. And I'll explain how I find that later. It's made from purple heart and yellow heart. The lighting in here though don't really show it up as purple too well. That's because of the lights. So there's nothing really to it. It's pretty simple. So let's get started on making this turning. For this project, I'm going to use purple heart and yellow heart. The big segments will be made from purple heart. The base will be made from purple heart. I got a piece here 5 inches square. It's going to be a small turning. And for the thin rows, I'm using yellow heart. And I've got this yellow heart cut to about 0.2 inches. Little bit under 1/4 of an inch. I could have made it thinner, but I want enough to show the yellow color. So I made it 0.2 inches. You can make it thicker or thinner. In reality now, what I'm going to do is drop every third segment. To do that, I need to use a number of segments per ring. It's divisible by 3, obviously. I could use 12 or I could use 24. I don't think 12 will give me the effect I want good enough, so I'm going to use 24. So that means in actuality there'll be 16 segments. Like I said, every third one will be dropped. Now, the ones between them, the yellow, will also in actuality be segments. But one of them will have to span between 2 open segments, which will be a normal open segment length. It'll just be a short segment. But the other one's got to span across a missing segment, so it'll be much bigger. And I'll figure that out later. Actually, I've already figured it out, but I'll explain it later when I go to cut them. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is do the bottom. And for the bottom, like I do on all solid bottoms, I'm going to mount it in cold jaws. I'm going to cut a mortise in it for the chuck. And I'm going to put a groove right around the edge so I can bandsaw it easy. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I've got it in the cold jaws, and I've got it marked where I want to cut the mortise. I've got it marked right around as close to the edge as I can get. I'm going to cut a groove for the bandsaw to cut the corners off. So I'm going to go ahead and turn them. First I'm going to use a parting tool to cut the grooves. There's a groove around the edge that'll guide the bandsaw. Now to start the mortise, I'm again going to use a parting tool just to start it. Let's take some material out. put a dovetail in it. That should do it. A dovetail in it, got the mortise, got a ring for the bandsaw. I'm going to take her to the bandsaw, cut the ring off, and then I'm going to mount it up in the chuck. It's chucked up now. Two things I'm going to do. First, I'm turning it round. Second thing I'm going to do is start turning it into the bottom. And then I'm going to turn a flat spot on the edge, probably about 3/4 of an inch or so. That'll be so I can glue the first row of segments on. So I'm just going to start turning it. Okay, it's round. Sharpen this. Deeper. Okay, let me chalk it and then sand it flat around the edge. I think I left a lot more than 3/4 of an inch, but that's okay. After I get a couple of rows of segments on, I can go ahead and turn that out into the bottom of the segments. See how far in that chalk is. About 3/4 of an inch in. That'll be okay. I ain't worried about it. I got 3/4 of an inch smooth here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit it with a smooth side of the sandpaper. Okay, I got a good smooth surface, at least 3/4 of an inch. ready for gluing. So it's ready to take the first row of segments. I'm ready to cut the first row of segments now. Before I do that, talk about them for a minute. The purple segments are 3/4 of an inch high, and they're just going to be regular open segments. The only thing is, every third one will be missing. Now the yellow segments are thinner. Like I said, they're 0.2 inch. Half of them will be normal open segment size that go over the two purple segments that are together. The other 8 have got to span the gap, which means they're going to be much bigger. Now I've got it drawn out basically. I just drew out 4 rows, that's enough. They're all the same after that. I don't really know if you can see it, how small it is, but I'll get it up close here. Maybe you can see it. The 2 purple ones are together, and then there's a space. So the one yellow one spans the 2 purple. The other yellow one's got to span across the gap, so it's going to be much larger. Now I'm going to put on a yellow roll first, not because it's really needed for the strength across the top of the segments, but because of the color. I want the yellow color right there on the first row. So like I said, half the segments, or 8 of them, are going to be regular, normal, open segment size. But to go from an open segment across a missing segment to another open segment, I worked it out, and the size has got to be an open segment size plus a normal closed segment size. So I've got to add those 2 figures together, and the angle that the long segment will be cut at will be an open segment angle plus a closed segment angle. So I'm going to go ahead and work those out. I've worked out the figures now. The first ring I'm going to put on is yellow. It's going to be 5.5 inch diameter. So the regular open segment sizes for it, 8 of them will be 0.5068 length, and they'll be cut at 5.25 degrees. Now the longer segments I worked out, the cut length will be 1.2308, which is a closed segment plus an open segment, and the angle will be 12.75 degrees. So I'm going to go over to table saw and cut some segments for this. I got my stop block set up for a 5.5 inch circle, 2 3/4 inches from center. Got the 24 segment ring on, this 48 indexes. I've got it set and locked. So I'm going to start gluing on and see how good my calculations were, or conversely were not. So let's find out. First I'm going to glue a small one on. And they are small too, good grief. I don't know if I can even hold these things. Okay, a light layer of glue. We'll put her on. Okay, that one's on now. I'm using the red indexes, so what I'm going to have to do is skip one of the red indexes and then go to the next one and put on one of the big pieces. Well, let's see what it looks like when I put it on. Well, it looks fairly good. Looks like it might be right. Now I'm going to go ahead and glue it on and see. Wow, way too much glue. Get some of that off. Yeah, let's glue it on. Seconds. Okay, it's on. Now to check it, take one of these small normal size segments and see what it looks like if it was glued on over the top. It looks about right, so I think I got her. Okay, this ring is glued on. I gotta wait 15 minutes. I'm going to chalk it and sand it like any other ring. Now this is a unusual looking ring, and you may be confused right now. But if you bear with me, after we put a couple more rings on, it'll make a lot more sense. So it's indexed for 24, and there's 16 rings. 8 of them normal size open segment, and 8 big ones. But like I said, bear with me until we get a couple more rings on, then you can see it. I've got these segments chalked. I'm going to sand them flat now. Even though they're thin, I still got to sand them flat. That's got it. I'd hit it with a smooth side one time. Well, that's ready for the next row of segments. Now I'm ready to cut the large segments, the Purple Heart. The diameter of first row of Purple Heart is going to be right at 6 inches. And it's 24 segments per ring, even though I'm only cutting 16 segments. So 24 segments, open segments, 6 inches, is 0.5529. So I'm going to set my saw up to cut 24 segment, open segment. It's a 5.25 degrees. And I'm going to set the cut length at 5.5529. And I'm going to go ahead and cut 16. I got 16 of the segments cut. The row is going to be 3/4 of an inch high. These are cut a little bit more than 3/4 of an inch. What I'm going to do is shellac the 2 cut sides, basically the end grain, so it'll darken it up. I won't have to do it later after the piece is finished. Then I'm going to put it on the disc sander. I'm going to set my stop block for 3/4 of an inch I'm going to touch one side, get it sanded, and I'm going over and touch the other glue surface and sand it down to 3/4 of an inch. But first I'm going to shellac these cut sides. Got my sponge here, saturated with shellac. Very simple. Both sides have been shellacked now, darkens them up. But I've got shellac on the glue sides. But again, I'm going to put them on a disc sander and sand them down. So I'm going ahead and shellac all 16 of them. They're all shellacked now. What I'm going to do now, I've got a sled for my disc sander. I've got a push stick with an adjustable stop. I got the stop set for 3/4 of an inch from the disc. So what I'm going to do is first of all put this on and just clean up one side. Then I'll flip it over and sand the other side down to 3/4 of an inch. So let me go ahead and sand one down. One side's clean. The other side sanded down 3/4 of an inch. Now you can see both sides have been cleaned up, and it's 3/4 of an inch now. Very quick, very simple. So I'm going to do the other 15. Got my stop block set for 3 inches from center for a 6-inch ring. I'm using the blue indexes from the index wheel. I got it set up, put the first segment over the first gap. So I'm ready to glue on a segment of Purple Heart. Again, a very light coat of type bound 2. It's a very, very light coat. Don't know if you can see it or not. I'm going to hold it for 15 seconds is all. Okay, let's put on the second one the same way we did the first. Now we're going to miss one of the blue indexes and go to the second blue index. And then we'll put the third one on. And there is where the missing segment would go. So I'm just going to go ahead now and put on Rest of the segments the same way. Put 2 on and miss 1. It's been 15 minutes, so I can go ahead. I've got these chalked and sand it down. That's just about got it. There's still a little bit of yellow. Okay, that's got it sanded down. I'm going to hit it with the smooth side one time. Now I'm ready to put on the next row of yellow, which as you can see going to be one normal sized open segment piece and then one large piece to go between the gap here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the yellow for it. The next row, of course, is the yellow heart, which means 8 small pieces and 8 large pieces. I'm going to cut them the same way I did the first row, except the diameter will be different, and of course that means the cut length will be different. The diameter is going to be 6.5 inch. So for the short ones, it's going to be cut at 0.599, and the long ones, of course, cut at a different angle, will be 1.4547. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut those. Got the yellow pieces cut. I don't shellac the edge of these and sand them to size. I just mill them to the right size and make sure they got at least one good flat smooth surface. They're just too thin to try and shellac and sand back. But I've got 8 of the big ones, 8 of the small ones. We'll glue them on and see how well they fit. Theoretically, they're going to come out right, but let's find out. Okay, I got my stop block set up for 3¼ inches, which is 6.5 diameter ring. I got it on the red index, right over the first gap here where a little one goes. I got a little segment. We'll put it on. It looks pretty good. Let's put the big one on now and see what it looks like. Now then, we need a little glue along both edges. Just along the edges. Way too much glue, way too much. That looks pretty good. We'll go ahead and put the rest of them on. See, now the third row is on. And I'm going to sand it flat, and then I'm going to start turning the inside. Normally I won't turn the top row because the segments not being supported on the top will tend to split. But with a thin row like this, if I turn in the top a little bit, it's usually okay. I've never had a problem, so I'll probably turn the top a little bit. I don't want to turn it too far. I want to leave enough room for the next row to be glued on and turned into. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sand it, and then I'm going to start turning the inside a little bit. Okay, now I got the bottom turned into the first couple of rings. So I'm going to go ahead now and put more rings on it. From now on, it'll just be duplication. Of course, I'm going in and sand after I get a couple more rings on. But everything will be just duplicated, so I'm just going to go ahead and add more rings. Flatten them, sand them, add more rings till I get up to the top. I've got 4 rows of the yellow heart, 3 rows of the purple heart open segments. I've got it turned about halfway, all the way turned and sanded. Got it sanded too, about halfway. Then I got it turned a little bit above that. And I'm ready to put on the last row of the purple heart open segments. Then I'll have 1 more row of the yellow heart. Then I'll have to put a cap ring on top. So I've been turning and sanding as I come out. And I find that's a lot easier than waiting until I'm done to do it. So just to show you how far I'm going along, I'm ready to put on the last row of purple heart open segments now. The last of the open segments are on now. It's been turned inside up past the halfway mark. It's been rough turned right here at the top, not all the way turned. It's been sanded about halfway up. And now I'm going to make the top ring to put on it. That's a closed segment ring. So I'm going to just make the top ring and put on it and go from there. To make a top ring, I'll measure it out. It's 2 3/4 from center. Means I want a 5.5 inch ring. It's 24 segments, closed ring. So 5.5, 24 segments means I'm going to have a cut length of 0.7240 and a cut angle of 7.5 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my table saw and cut 24 purple heart segments for the top ring. I've got 24 segments cut and sanded. I'm dry clamping them to check and make sure all the joints are tight. To do that, I'll hold it up to the light and check each one. Now my setup's pretty close, so these joints are all tight. If you want to know more about making the basic segmented ring, I made a video on 3 ways to do that. I'm sure most of you already know. If you're tired of using band clamps, a couple of years ago, I come up with a way to use nylon cord using this clamp. If you want to know how to build one, I made a video on that. So now, the dry clamp looks good. The diameter is 5.5. So I'm going to go ahead and glue it up. I'm going to pull out one piece out of the ring, and I'm just going to take glue and put it on one side of each piece. It's good enough. When I clamp them down, they'll glue. Last segment, I'm going to have to force it in. I let the ring tighten up on me as I went around. But that's okay, no problem. Clean off the glue spreader. Alright, let's clamp her down. Bump it up a little bit. Make sure they're all straight and even. Okay. Wipe up a little bit of the glue, not too much. Put the top on it. And then go ahead and clamp her down tight. That's tight enough. Now we can pull the top off. Ain't gonna go nowhere. Quick inspection. Yeah, good. I just hang her up and let her dry for 15 minutes before I smooth it. After 15 minutes, I'm going to smooth it out. It's been 15 minutes. Actually, it's been a little more than that. I'm going to flatten this ring. First of all, I got to get it out of this clamp. Now, I could put it through the drum sander and flatten it, but I want it a little bit flatter than that, what the drum sander do. I'm going to put it in coal jaws and flatten it. So I'm going to put the coal jaws on the lathe and put it in the coal jaw, and I'm going to flatten it out there. I've got it in the coal jaws now. I'm going to turn it first flat, and I'm going to put the sanding block on it and get it really flat. When I do open segments, I like to make sure every segment gets a good glue joint. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, I got it turned down flat now. I'm going to chalk it and then sand it. I'm going to put the sanding block on it and get it really flat. That's got it. Now I'm going to flip it over and hit it with a smooth side one time. Now then, I'm going to put the cold jaws on the tailstock, put the turning back in and bring it up and glue it on. Okay, I've got it mounted to the tailstock and the cold jaws. I'm going to put glue on all the segments. Then I'm going to bring the tailstock up and I'm going to align it so that the joints in the solid ring fall in the middle of a segment, so that all the joints will have cross grain, long grain glue up across the joints. Make sure the joint falls right in the middle of the segments. So, first thing I got to do is put glue on them all. Now these big ones are going to be Now I'll just bring up the tailstock, get it real close, then make sure the joint is lined up over the segments, and clamp her down. There it is. I guarantee you all the joints will be good joints because they're both perfectly flat. So I'm going to let it set for 15 minutes and then we'll be able to be ready to finish turning the inside, sanding it and finish it, and then I'll go about turning the outside. The glue's dried on the top ring. You'll notice I only flatten one side of the ring to glue on. The other side don't need to be flattened when I glue it on, because I'm going to go ahead and turn it. What I'm going to do now is finish turning the inside, then I'm going to finish sanding the inside, then I'm going to put finish on the inside. At the same time, I'm going to start turning the top ring here. The reason I do that, because I'm going to bring the center cone up so I can turn it between centers. Small turning like this, you don't really need to turn it between centers. I just make a habit whenever I can to turn between centers. So that's what I'm going to be doing. First I'll finish turning the inside and start turning the top ring, then I'll sand it and finish it. I got the inside turned, got the top turned here. Now I'm going to sand it and put finish on it. Then I'm going to bring the center cone up and finish the outside. It's been sanded, and believe me, it's not the easiest thing to sand the inside of an open segment. But it's been sanded, and now I'm going to put on my favorite finish on the inside, which is, of course, shellac. So I'm going to go ahead and shellac it all. 2 or 3 coats in there. I got finish on the inside now. I'm going to let it dry for a while. Then I'm going to put some pieces of blue tape around the edge here. And I'm going to bring up the center cone. I'm going to bring up the center cone, not real tight. Just bring it up where it just touches. Then I'm going to go ahead and turn the outside. So we'll just let it dry a while now. I've got the inside turned, sanded, and finish put on it. I turned the top ring, sanded and finished it. I may have to reshape it a little bit later when I finish the outside, I don't know. But I did that because when I bring the cone up, it's hard to get to that ring. So I'm going to bring the cone up now. I got blue tape here to protect the finish, 4 places. I'll bring the cone up just where it touches it good, not tight at all. Then I'll go ahead and turn the outside using my favorite tool. You can use whatever tool you like. I'm going to turn from the top down. That way I keep as much strength between where I'm turning and the chuck as I can. So first I'm going to bring up the cone a little bit. Right about there should be good. Oh yeah, that's good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start turning it now. It's been turned. I'm going to sand through all the grits and all the scratch pads. After I get most of it sanded, I'm going to take the comb, move it back. It's sanded right here. Now, I've got it all sanded out before the phone rang in here. And I've used all the scratch pads on it, got it smoothed out. I'm going to put a couple of layers of shellac on it. Then I'm going to rub it out with the fine scratch pad after that. Then I'll put another layer of shellac on it. So I'm just going to go ahead and put some shellac on it, let it dry, and I'll rub it out and put some more on it. What I got left now is to turn the bottom. It's not finished until the bottom's turned. So what I'm going to do, I taped the top to protect it. I'm going to put it on the coal jaws. I'm going to hold it from the inside because of the shape of it. And I'm going to bring up the live center on the tailstock, and I'm going to turn the bottom. After I turn the bottom, I'll sound it a little bit, sign it, put shellac on it. And on the coal jaws, I'm going to be using these tapered pins so I can get a good grip on it. So I'm going to go ahead and put it up on. It's on the coal jaws. They're not real tight. I don't want to split the top ring, which can be done if you tighten them too tight. I got the live center up to hold it. So now all I got to do is just turn down the bottom a little bit, sand it, sign it, and seal it. So I'm going to go ahead and well, there it is, the last segment turning. Now, there's a lot of variations you can do with this. I use 24 segments per ring and dropped every third one. But you could use 16 segments per ring, drop every fourth one, or you could use any number of segments and drop every other one. You can make these rings, what I use the yellow heart here, you can make them thicker or thinner. You can make these taller or shorter. So there's a lot of things you can do with it. And it's ready to go. Bottom's been turned, sanded, signed. And you can't really see the colors, I'm sure, good here. The purple heart and the yellow heart. These lights don't show purple heart as being real purple, but it is. So if you got any questions, send me an email. I'm going to put the email on the bottom here. Any comments? And I appreciate you watching the video. And come back and watch the next one I make. Although I don't know what it'll be. I think I'm going to have to do some shop maintenance here for a bit.